Welcome to part two. We're just waiting for Adam to join us from California. Takes some nuts, that, doesn't it, to go out there from Ireland, set up in another country. Takes some nuts, that. I'm telling you. Here we are. Here's Adam. Women love him, men want to be him.
Hello, sir. How are we?
How are you doing, Adam?
Flying, bud. Flying it.
Yeah. The Saudi show, what do you think of it as a whole? You know, with judging, reffing, the whole hype of it all. What do you take from it?
I mean, overall, I thought things were mostly fine. Obviously, the big fight, we've already talked about the ref and we talked about the judging. I think the rest of the fight was pretty smooth, all things considered. I mean, the rest of the fight, sorry. Uh, I thought the Cordina, how do you pronounce the lad's name? Kakashi. The fella from Northern Ireland, Kakashi or whatever you call him. Um, I thought his punch off the break massively affected that fight. And obviously, look, he's an Irishman. I was rooting for him going into the fight. But I thought the referee could have done a better job at being more physical at splitting them. Your man, the ref's name is kind of evading me as well. UK ref, but I thought he could have done a better job of kind of getting himself stuck in between both men. Now, obviously, it's easy in hindsight. He didn't know a punch was going to get thrown off the break. Kakachi hits hard. That was obvious from kind of the way he put Cordina away. That was the only real piece outside of the Fury fight that kind of I thought was a wee bit contentious. Obviously there were a lot of stoppages. Before that, they were kind of unaffected by reffing and judging. But I thought overall it was fine. I mean, the atmosphere is what it is. Everyone keeps comparing it to, atmospheres in the UK, small hall to Wembley. Atmospheres like that you're never going to get an atmosphere like that in Saudi or in the Middle East. Like, I'm sorry. Unless they stick it out for, for the foreseeable future in boxing, which I don't see that being the case, then maybe you could build it year after year. But I think people complaining about the atmosphere, like, it's always going to be that way for the most part. I know it's going to get slightly better depending on how big the fight is. But the atmosphere is never, ever, ever going to be anything like you'd see in the UK, Ireland, or even in the US. So it is what it is. The fighters are going out there, they're getting paid big bucks, fair play to them. I think for a lot of these guys, like the likes of Kakachi, like Mark Chamberlain, these guys, they're getting like actual life-changing money compared to what they were getting in Ireland and the UK. So, can't begrudge them for going out there. But no, overall, I mean, I thought the card ran fine. I was kind of surprised at the Jayo Pataya fight. Just that, kind of surprised how it ended, honestly. I thought Bradis came back into it very well. He looked like a dead man walking after 6 or 7. So, I'm not in any way writing that Pataya off, but it kind of showed me some holes that I didn't think we would see in the Bradis rematch. Still a great fighter to watch. Still have him high up there. But yeah, I thought he looked human, and I thought he would kind of close out the show a lot easier than he did after 6 or 7 rounds. So that was the only kind of thing that surprised me big time, if I'm being honest with you. What do you make of that fight?
Oh, the Cordina and what we call Casey.
Kikesi, yeah. Well, that and the Jai Opataya fight, they're both
Yeah,
kind of.
fight. I thought I don't think he's as good as what they've made out, do you?
No, yeah, look, he definitely went down a peg. Like I say, I'm not writing him off. It's not like he got blown out, or it's not even like he lost. But I thought he showed. I just thought he would finish the fight a lot stronger than he did, even after he got into trouble. I kind of thought he was I kind of thought he knew he was up. Look, he managed the fight well, in fairness, but he wasn't the destroyer that we've seen up until this point. Like, there was talks about him, moving up and fighting bigger guys, elite level bigger guys. I don't see that going well on his performance against Bradis. But don't get me wrong, like again, like Bradis, obviously he's been a brilliant fighter. I'm not writing him off completely, but a lot of people thought coming into this, his best days were behind him. He showed the heart of a warrior. Bradis did coming back into it, but down in the mouthpiece and just got stuck in. But I was surprised at how kind of Opataya faded, and kind of how he kind of scrambled to a victory is probably a bit unfair, but how he kind of managed to just kind of dig in and stick it out. So yeah, I was surprised. I thought he would win the fight easier before the fight, and then I thought through 6 or 7, he looked like he was going to pull away and maybe get a late stoppage, but that didn't happen. So I'll be watching this big fight with very close eyes now. But like we talked about last week, that cruiserweight division, it's a bit of a ghost town. So I mean, obviously there's a couple of British guys we can put him in against that are kind of with respect to Jordan Thompson that I think are up a level. Your Reactors, to talk about somebody specifically. But yeah, we'll see how he goes, man. We'll see how he goes. But I think I think it does put him back a level or two, just in terms of what everybody was talking about. Like, he looked like a roadman killer up until the Bradis fight, and I think he showed some gaps, some chinks in his armor. So we'll see how he progresses moving forward.
I don't see him doing out at heavyweight,
No, not after that. Before, I mean, look, it's only one fight, and we've seen fighters go away and come back stronger after adversity. But no, 2 + 2 never equals 4 in boxing or MMA. But I think to see him kind of move up to heavyweight, I thought we needed to see him kind of go in there and blow Bradis away comfortably. And I think a lot of boys would be able to kind of use their size and weight against them late in fights like we saw there. So no, I wouldn't be clamoring them for the move up to heavyweight, at least not straight away. But the only thing I would say, I think it makes cruiserweight look more exciting. Like, I think a lot of, at least me, I thought cruiserweight was kind of a ghost town because I didn't see kind of really anybody giving up a proper good fight. But that opinion, that's not my opinion now after watching them kind of slug it out with Bradis. So maybe it kind of reinvigorates the cruiserweight division, but there's still not that many top level fighters and exciting fighters in the division. So we'll see. But I think he needs to go back to the drawing board. But he's still a great watch. Like, I'm not saying I've gone off him or anything. Like, even in that fight, even in adversity, it was still exciting to the end. So I think Opataya will always give you good fights, regardless of whether he moves up or not. So we'll see how he goes, man. But I think that kind of dense people had him in the top 10 pound for pound. I think that's kind of more questionable after the weekend. So let's just see how he goes.
Yeah. It's a pity Lawrence Okola is fighting for world title at Bridgeweight, because him and OPT would have been a good fight at cruiser, wouldn't it?
Very good. Very good. I mean, do you think Okoli's completely done with cruiser now? Like, do you think there's any chance?
He's fighting at Bridgeweight, innit, for Brzezinski, innit, for Bridgeweight title.
He is. No, I know he's got that fight lined up and it's happening, but I just mean, is there any possibility that he could come back down for an OPT
I don't
fight?
think so, no. I don't, because I think they're going to use that as a springboard to go to heavyweights, Bridgeweight.
Yeah. And look, they probably should. Like, to me, Okoli always looked like a massive cruiserweight at the best of times. That he would have struggled to make the weight. So, like we've talked about before, if you do move up, it's obviously traditionally it's been hard to come back down again. And plus, if you do come back down, it's not like OPT is any picnic either. It's going to be a tough, rough night. So maybe Okoli's just smarter. I think he wins a Bridgerweight title, and maybe he's smarter, probably just, maybe fighting 1 or 2 more Bridgerweight and then moving up to heavy gradually.
I think he'll go for Dylan White if he wins Bridgeweight.
I'd like to see that. I mean, look, White's a drug cheat. We've talked about this. But if he's going to continue fighting, the reason I'd like to see it, I think Okoli would take care of him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it'd be a good one to watch.
He'd have
Just
Joe G in his corner as well, wouldn't he? Legendary trainer.
yeah, yeah, kind of going strength to strength. Yeah, I think obviously we're wide high on Joe G, but I think coming off a loss like he did in a fight to Billum Smith that people thought that Coley should have won, I think Joe G's almost the perfect coach to kind of reinvigorate your career and just start again. Um, so yeah, I think it'll be a good team up. I don't think Joe G would be a bad team up for anybody really in boxing, but I think specifically with a Coley coming off a loss and moving up a division, I think he's like starting from scratch with a clear canvas again. And I think yeah, Joe G's a perfect man. So yeah, we probably will see in a Coley renaissance, at least at Bridgerweight, which I'm excited about. And I would like to see a Coley kind of change his style slightly. Um, I just think, look, whatever you can do to win fights, I just thought a lot of his fights previously, they haven't been blockbusters to watch. So if you could kind of work in a couple of new things just to open that up a wee bit, I think it'd be good for him in terms of selling these fights and people tuning in. So yeah, wishing him all the best moving forward with Joe G at the helm.
Yeah. Yeah, exciting times ahead.
Yeah, no, it's probably a change in the guard. It is exciting. I mean, I kind of go back to it wasn't that long ago where you had Tyson Fury at the top of the pile at heavyweight, and at the very same time you had Josh Taylor undisputed as well. And now you look at both guys, and they're in the transitional period. I know time in boxing moves very quick, but if you had told me after Wilder 3 that Francis Ngannou was going to knock Fury down in the third round of a 10-round exhibition, I would have literally pissed myself laughing. But things move quick in boxing. And now we've got a couple of big domestic guys in transition, namely Tyson Fury, Josh Taylor as well, fighting at the weekend against Catterall. It's for all intents and purposes, I think it's loser goes home. So I know there's not that much on the line, but I think for Josh Taylor himself, I think it's a crossroads fight at the weekend. And for that reason, I'm kind of excited about it. So yeah, mate, it's an exciting time, but it's also a weird time domestically because we have a lot of the old guard that were considered elite at Crossroads. So yeah, definitely exciting. Are you anyway kind of geared up for this fight with Taylor Catterall at the weekend?
Yeah, I think Taylor.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Me too. That was kind of my original thought. I know he's postponed. The only thing that kind of has me worried is that Josh Taylor's had a lot of injuries since he's gone undisputed, and I'm not making excuses for him. Uh I know there's been question marks from the Catterall camp. Have all these injuries been real and all that you reschedule and stuff? But if we take it all on face value and they all are real injuries, it's a hell of a lot of injuries at lower weights. Uh and that would worry me. Like, are Taylor's legs going into this fight? We won't know until the fight happens, obviously. But that could be an X factor or a factor that we're not taking into consideration. But I think he had Catterall rattled when they met for the press conferences last time out. So I think that was my original kind of thought. That was Taylor will goad Catterall into a fight that's not Catterall's fight. You know, Catterall likes to keep it on the outside and he likes to box and all the rest. I think Taylor wants to bring him into a bloodbath. And I think if Taylor can do that, I would fancy him big time to do damage. So yeah, I see Taylor winning. Like I say, if his legs aren't completely gone and the injuries haven't ruined him, then I see Taylor winning the fight.
Well, it's an exciting fight for boxing, isn't it?
It is, yeah, specifically domestically, but it is exciting. Like it is, there's a lot of fake beef in boxing. And I know that hit runs deep. I know both lads have kind of poo-pooed that and said it's not necessarily hit. But I don't think either lad likes each other at all. So it's not often we see bad blood in boxing, real bad blood. And it's not often we see it on home shores either. So no, it is exciting. It is exciting. And like we've talked about previously, I think it is kind of it's closing a chapter potentially for both guys. I say loser goes home. I'm not saying either lad has to retire. I just mean if Catterall wins, it kind of closes that chapter on him getting robbed, even though he never became undisputed champion. If Josh Taylor wins, it closes a chapter that he did just have an awful night against Catterall. So yeah, mate, I'm excited about it. Definitely excited. Just to see how it fares out. So, May's been an exciting month for boxing. We have another event tomorrow as well coming up. It's not a boxing match per se, but they're opening up Ryan Garcia's B samples tomorrow. So I don't know if we get any more clarity on it, but hopefully we do. So let's see how that pairs out.
Brian Garcia's B sample.
That's where boxing is now. We're either talking about fights or we're talking about B samples or appeals or this and that. The only big thing I'm curious about with the B sample, 99.99999 times out of 100, the B sample is going to be the same as the A sample. The only piece of information I'm curious about, his lawyers have originally said that what was found in terms of ostarine in his system was 6/billionth of a gram of ostarine. So that's what they originally said. Now, that hasn't been confirmed. Obviously, it was right. It was Garcia's lawyers that said this. They're on Garcia's side. So it hasn't been fully confirmed yet. Now, that was kind of a big part of what I was predicating, what I said about Garcia not taking it on purpose was on, that it was such a small fraction. Now, if that gets proven that small fraction is not the case, it completely changes things for me. But if it is that small of a picogram that they found, it would kind of lend itself to the fact that it was a contaminated supplement. So that's what I'm curious to see. I don't think there's not going to be ostarine in these B sample. I don't buy in to the Devin Haney and Eddie Hearn conspiracy theories. But if it is that small a fraction, yeah, I just want to know how much is in there. That's the big thing I want to know out of the B sample. So let's hope that we get that information.
Yeah.
But I was wild surprised though. I don't know if you caught it at the weekend. I was kind of surprised about kind of DAZN kind of giving Garcia so much of a platform out in Saudi. You had Adi Oladipo on TalkSport a couple of weeks ago saying he'd never look at Ryan Garcia the same again. And then out in Saudi, he's got his arm around him, interviewing him. How are you doing? How's everything going for you? It's kind of made me laugh out loud, if I'm being honest. But it tells you everything you need to know about boxing and DAZN and the whole game. So kind of disappointing that, isn't it? A lot of two-faced stuff going on.
Yeah, it's madness. Obviously, have you seen Paulie Malignaggi and Teddy Atlas's opinions on it all?
On Garcia or just on something else?
On Saudi stuff, on Fury and Usyk.
Yeah, I usually listen to Atlas most weeks anytime he puts something up, and then I watch Pro Box as well. I think the boys at Pro Box, Malignaggi, Algeria and stuff are good. I haven't seen though what either guy has said specifically about Saudi this week, if you want to fill us in.
No, basically great champions find a way, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, because I know Atlas had Usyk to win fight week and in his podcast before he went out to Saudi. Malignaggi had Fury to win. He thought size was matters. So I saw what they said before it all kicked off. But yeah, I mean, you go back down through the greats, Ali, Sugar Ray, all these guys, the great ones find a way. And Usyk found a way after a horrendous sixth round. So I think, especially now in this generation where social media dictates a lot of what gets said and publicized and all the rest. But I think in this generation, I'll rack my brain. So I won't say probably. There definitely are other examples, but this was the most obvious example in recent memory of great ones finding a way, and Usyk definitely falls in to that great ones conversation. I mean, it's undisputed now. Pardon the pun. Usyk's right in there. For me, he's in the top 10 heavyweights of all time. I don't have a specific 10, 1 through 10, but Usyk's well in there. He might be top 5, probably is top 5. So, yeah, doesn't surprise me. I like Atlas and Malignaggi for the most part. I know Malignaggi kind of goes off the boil sometimes and kind of gets wild animated, but I think for the most part they get it right most of the time, and I think they are very objective. I know neither lad likes Canelo very much, but I think outside of that, I think both lads are very fair. So yeah.
What do you think to Oscar's beef with Eddie Hills?
Has it flared up even more this week, or are we just talking about kind of the fallout with Garcia and all that stuff?
The general beef and that. You think they need to like get at it?
Uh I mean, I would love to see it because I mean De La Hoya's, say what you want about him after and the fishnets and all that. He is a Hall of Famer boxer. So I think even at their age now, and even Oscar loves a beer and some other stuff, I think he would still tear Eddie Hills apart at the joints. But I think it's handbags. I think both guys they do know the promotional game. They do know this beef does do numbers and it does keep things spicy. I think it's a lot of handbags. I don't see it going away anytime soon. I think Eddie Hills is a big mouth and he always has and he always will. And I think Oscar loves a bit of beef too. Um, so I don't see it going away anytime soon. I think they'll make fights. I think fights will get made and that kind of stuff. But I think they'll always be kind of beefing, because I don't know. They both strike me as immature guys, immature adults. So I don't see it stopping anytime soon, man.
No,
Nah, probably not. Probably not.
no.
Um,
Getting back to Fury, how do you think he's going to handle this?
uh, I think there'll likely be a media blackout. Like I think years ago when Conor McGregor was on the come up in the UFC, like he beat Aldo in 13 seconds. Took the belts, and then he was scheduled to fight for the two belts at once. He would have been the first man to ever do it, and he did it in the end. He fought Alvarez. He was the first man to ever hold two belts, but he took a fight against Nate Diaz on short notice. The fight was supposed to be at 155, but because it was short notice, he took it at 170 and he lost. A massive upset. I think Diaz was like a 12-1 underdog or something. But basically, McGregor went away. He was always a big media guy, but he did a complete media blackout. He went away to Iceland, trained with his own team. He wouldn't even do promotion for the UFC. Him and Dana White fell out. It was like their first big fallout. But he went away, complete blackout, just his family and his team. And he went back to the drawing board and he rematched Diaz and he won a close fight. And I think Tyson Fury will do something similar. I don't think he'll do too much talking. I think Big John will be exiled to the caravan, and I think they'll lock the door. But yeah, I think it'll be quiet in the media, and like I said, I'll be interested to see what happens with Sugar Hill, whether he stays on. Um, but can I have one from left field here, man? I could be completely wrong. If Sugar Hill does leave or he gets kicked out or whatever the case may be, I think Tyson Fury might try and recruit Ben Davidson again,
Yeah.
Just for the rematch. And I know people might think I'm mad, and obviously he's working with AJ now. But I mean, Usyk's so good that I don't know. I think what it might require to beat him, if it can happen, or at least in Fury's eyes, what it might see, you know, Lee Wiley and Ben Davidson, all they're renowned for breaking down data and tape and going through the analytics and stuff. Fury's got the size, obviously, and there are question marks now about his legs and stuff. But I think all that small stuff that Usyk was doing that Fury couldn't figure out the whole way through the fights, the small adjustments, the pivots, the angles, all the small things that the casual fan mightn't see. I think he's going to want to have that stuff figured out as much as you can figure it out. Do you know what I mean? Because Usyk's he's an absolute Mozart, and he's a phenom. So I think he might look at a guy like Davidson and just say, look, you come back for the rematch, whatever happened before. I want you to break down tape. I just want you to go through all the X's and O's with Usyk, and I want you to find me small gaps where I can have success and where I can maybe put him under trouble. So yeah, mate, it might sound wild ridiculous, but I think that might be something we see. I think there'll definitely be a reshuffle of the pack from Fury. And I think that'll start with Big John being out of camp. Um, and I think that'll start with him not coming out to the media that much. If he does take the rematch. And I think it might mean a new coach as well. But let's see. Let's see. I don't think we'll see him doing any IFL, any Boxing King media. I don't think we'll see any of that. I think it'll all be behind closed doors, at least for a couple of months.
Do you think that Usyk is a phenomenon?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, he was that to me before this fight happened. Even if he lost a close fight to Fury, I would still have him well up there. Because if as long as Fury didn't go in and absolutely blow him out, and it was competitive, even if he lost 7-5, and even if I could say that Fury did win, he was still closing the gap on a massive reach disadvantage, height disadvantage, and weight disadvantage. So even if it was competitive, he would have proved something to me that a lot of people thought he couldn't do early. But he went in there and he put all that stuff to one side, and he fought through adversity, and he did go through a couple of rough rounds. But he found a way to win and won convincingly. You know what I mean? He didn't just scrape it to me. He won by four rounds or 4 points. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think from this division, like I said, now I have him pound for pound, number one. I've Bud Crawford 2, and then in the way 3. I know you 3, or obviously until the Crawford fight happens. But there was this whole conversation before, how would Fury get on in the era? I think now the whole conversation shifts to how would Usyk get on in the era? You know, obviously Fury would have had a massive advantage on Rocky Marciano and even Ali and these kind of guys in terms of height and reach and weight. Usyk wouldn't necessarily. I know him and Ali are like they were the same, weight. When he fought AJ last, when Usyk fought him last, as Ali was in the same height. So I think now you have to talk about Usyk being competitive in the era. Um, do I think he would beat everyone of every era? I don't. I think Lennox Lewis would have given Usyk a lot of trouble. Um, but yeah, mate, I think you have to start having those conversations now about Usyk versus Ali and Usyk versus Tyson, and we'll never know. It's fantasy matchmaking. But like I said, for me, Usyk's in the top 10 heavyweights of all time, and he probably squeezes into my top 5. Uh, I'll just say, yeah, I'll just say it now. I have him in the top 5, absolutely, heavyweights of all time.
Is that good, isn't he?
He's unbelievable, mate. He's absolutely unbelievable. And he just kind of showed everything the last night. I mean, that shot he caught Fury with first on the temple, that put him on button moon. You know, obviously he can punch. But he's just like, to me, him and Loma are very similar. Whereas like Loma doesn't punch massive at 135, but he creates angles and he hits you with shots that you don't see coming, that they cause serious disruption. And I think that's what happened to Fury. When he obviously got caught in the ninth. Usyk's got a bit of everything. I mean, maybe you can't argue he's the best heavyweight of all time, but I think you can make really good arguments that he's got the best footwork at heavyweight of all time. Like, I'll say that. I think he's got the best footwork when he heavyweight ever. Yeah, he's just, I can't say enough good things about him, mate. He's just unbelievable. He just handles himself class. I think he's kind of funny as well. Some of the wee sound bites you get from him. Obviously, his English isn't great, but I think that almost makes him funnier. So he's just, yeah, class act from top to bottom, like his team. I think you see a lot of people in sport, and I'm not poo-pooing on anybody, believe what you want, but you see a lot of people in sport that kind of, they talk about this and that, and they talk about religion and stuff. But you look at Usyk, and he's just, to me, he seems like 1,000% authentic. He's a proper God-fearing man, proper family man. He's properly dedicated to his team, the people that came up with him the whole way. Yeah, just seems like a proper character, mate, and I love him from top to bottom. Don't have a bad word to say about the fella. Pure class and pound for pound, great. So yeah, go on, Usyk.
He's done it on road as well, hasn't he?
Oh, completely, mate. He's if you look up, if there was a boxing dictionary and you look up Roadman Killer in the dictionary, you'd see a photo of Usyk smiling, that kind of menacing smile. I mean, all of his biggest ones in his career, they've all been on the road. Like, it's not just like one or two of them. Obviously, I think the boxing Super Series back in the day, it actually was neutral in Saudi. So I think that you can maybe call it a neutral venue. Um, but I don't think him fighting in Saudi this time out was neutral. I think it was way more Fury. So yeah, mate, just roadman killer. Just unbelievable guy, you know, unbelievable guy. And I hope we see him in again against Fury. I would like to see the rematch because I do think it was a competitive fight. It wasn't a blowout, nothing like that. So I would like to see it again. Um, but even if Usyk did lose the rematch somehow, like I'm not going to go. I don't think he does. But even if he did, I would still have him very, very high up. Um, because he beat Fury at the first crack. You know, people had him to beat AJ the first time they fought. You know, he's crossed every bridge that people said he wouldn't cross as he's come up. And he's done it first time out every single time. No dodgy draws, you know, no. I mean, the only controversy you could probably pull to is people say that the low blow against Dubois wasn't low or it shouldn't have been a foul. Outside of that, there's literally no other controversy that I can think of that follows Usyk through his career. So a proper boxer, proper man, just an absolute phenomenon. You know, I know Loma has a couple of losses in his record, and I obviously have Usyk above Loma. He's undefeated, but I kind of put him and Loma in that same bracket from this generation of guys that came in. They ripped up the the script in terms of what you do. There was none of these. We'll have 15 gimme fights against Wasteman. There was none of that. It was just moved, stay an amateur for as long as possible, move to pro, fight for belts as early as possible. You know, fight on the road, fight the hardest guys, move up. Just unbelievable guys. So big respect.
How do you think Usyk could have fared against Holyfield?
Mm, that's another one of the characters. You know, I think would have given him serious problems. Serious problems. Oh, I mean, I don't know, mate. Yeah, is it 50-50? Maybe not. I'd probably go 60-40 Usyk. And he obviously will never ever see it. But you know, Holyfield was an absolute dog. Um, he was a dog, and people can see. Yeah, look, we didn't get a prime Tyson Fury in this fight, but if it's prime Usyk against prime Holyfield, probably have 60-40 Usyk, maybe 65-35. No, probably closer to 60-40, only because when Holyfield would have got in trouble, there would have been no fading. Like Holyfield would have went out on his shield, and he would have went out face down, or trying to put the other man face down. So that's probably why I would have given him a very good chance in there. Um, I would give Holyfield a much better chance than Tyson, and I know Tyson and his pomp was was so scary. But I think a lot of fights that Fury won, or sorry, I think a lot of fights that Mike Tyson won, he won them before he stepped in the ring because there was so much fear in the other men and fear in their eyes that they were just broken before they even stepped in with him. I don't think Usyk would have had that fear at all. And I think Usyk would have found a way to stay away from Tyson for 3-4 rounds where he's most dangerous. And then I think Usyk would have had such a pace and would have done so many weird things that Tyson would have never seen before that he would have just dragged him into deep waters and maybe got a late stoppage like he should have got against Fury. So I would have Usyk winning clear against Tyson than I would have him winning clear against Holyfield or Lennox Lewis.
Would you?
I think so, man. I think so. I think so. Um, I think Lennox Lewis. Still a fantasy matchup to me, though. I think probably recency bias. I think Lennox Lewis might have given him his toughest fight because he kind of had a combination of all the things that were pulling from other fighters. Like he had the size and the reach like Fury had, but he also had the dog in him that Holyfield had as well. So I think out of all the guys we pull from, I think and I'm talking about Lewis out of the most recent guys. I think you go back to Muhammad Ali and Lennox Lewis. I think they probably would have given me his two toughest fights. Looking at fantasy matchmaking, um, But then you pull in maybe a Peak. No, because look, Muhammad Ali went in there and bamboozled a Peak Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston was such an animal at his worst. Do you know what I mean? He was a destructive guy. So maybe that'll be a tough one too. But fantasy matchmaking is fun. But I would say probably it's not a hot take, but I would say Ali or Lewis would have matched up best against Usyk if we're doing fantasy matchmaking.
How do you think Fury would have gone on against Lennox Lewis?
I genuinely said this before he got beat against Usyk. I always would have had Lewis winning, beating Tyson Fury. And look, if they fought 10 times, I'm not saying Lewis would win 10 times out of 10, but I think if they fought 10 times, I probably would have Lewis winning 7-3, something like that. And I'm not just saying this now. I said this before he got beat by Usyk. I think Lennox Lewis didn't get the appreciation at the time that he should have. And I think history's been very friendly to him. When you look at his reign, he avenged his defeats, fought very, very tough guys. Even at the end, he fought Vitali. Do you know what I'm saying? On his way out. So yeah, again, if they fight 10 times, I probably have Lewis winning 7-3.
Would you?
I think so, man. Or it's 6-4. But I'm saying I would give Lewis the edge. I would. Absolutely.
You say Lennox Lewis is a more complete fighter than Tyson Fury, wouldn't you?
He would, and he would be able to negate. Like, I know it's apples and oranges, but if you look at big Francis Ngannou, I think he was able to take away some of Fury's strengths that he pulled on before. His size, his strength, his ability to lean and bully people. And I think Lennox Lewis would have done the same. I don't think Tyson Fury would have been able to bully Lennox Lewis like he did with Wilder, or like he did with smaller fighters on the way up. And that's why I would give Lewis the edge. And +2 mentality. Like, people, that's another thing Lennox Lewis doesn't get credit for. Lennox Lewis had a serious mentality. You know what I mean? Like, he even the lost to Rackman, like he was, he shooting Ocean's 11. He wasn't taking that fight seriously. No excuses, got back in there and dusted him off. I know Rackman's not an all-time great, but Lennox Lewis had a strong mentality in victory or defeat. So that's why I would give him the edge as well.
Okay. That's about it then, mate.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, listen, been great having you on, mate.
Pleasure as always. Sure, we'll be in contact before Catterall Taylor, and then sure we'll catch up Sunday or early next week, mate. All right.
Okay then, mate. You take care.
Pleasure. Thanks, Ross. See you soon.
Bye. That was Adam out there in California doing the business. Women love him, men want to be him. Well, that's about it for tonight. One peace out. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. Booyaka.